up, everybody? Steve Jones Jr. here. Welcome to This Is the Moment podcast. Today's episode, this is a good one. This is the conversation that everybody's been waiting for.
What?
No, for real. What? This young lady right here is March is Women's History Month. March is Women's History Month. When I met this young lady right here, she was on her way to work. That's how much she works. I legit met her. She was walking out of the engineering building at Morgan, and she got in Gary Stewart's car. And we dropped her off at work.
What? I don't even remember that.
Either way, ladies and gentlemen, Trinity Johnson. Make some noise for her right now. There we go. Louder. Where you are. Make noise for her. What up, Trin?
Hello.
How are you feeling?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Good.
March is the third month of the year. We're out of the first quarter of this year. How has 2023 been so far?
Well, first off, 2023 is moving way too fast for my liking. Mm-hmm. But it's been going okay. You know, life been lifing. So.
True.
But it's cool. It's pretty cool.
Women's History Month. Let's start with influential women in our lives. Mm-hmm. Name an influential woman in your life, and you cannot, although I love her to death, you cannot name your mother.
Oh, okay.
You can't name mom. Name an influential woman in your life right now.
Beyonce. It's always gonna be the first one. Always gonna be the first one. Yeah, Beyonce.
Why Queen B?
I think a lot of people like to argue that they're like better artists than Beyonce, but I don't even just like her because of her music. Like, her music is good, but it's her work ethic.
Her passion.
Yeah, the work ethic. You can tell she loves what she does. She's respected and respectable in the industry. And she works for what she wants. And just like watching the evolution of Beyonce over all these years.
Evolution of Beyonce.
Yeah, she's the greatest entertainer, basically. Like, I would say, you know, most people gonna say Michael Jackson, but whatever.
Whoa, Beyonce, whatever Michael Jackson.
Listen. Look, I was never really like on Michael Jackson. I was too young to really know about it. Okay. But if we talking women, nobody is topping Beyonce.
Janet Jackson.
So, Beyonce. Janet cool, but Beyonce is like
I agree. Beyonce is dope, but entertainment wise, full circle, ain't nobody touching Beyonce. Nobody touch, but entertainment wise, I'm gonna have to go with Janet.
You just said full circle, Beyonce.
I said Beyonce, but when it comes just entertainment, I'm gonna have to go with Janet Jackson. And the Essence Music Festival last year proved that.
See, I ain't see that. But I'm sure if I saw it, I would still say Beyonce.
I mean, Beyonce
singing and dancing at the same time.
Janet.
She was. All right, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna say that.
Beyonce is dope, though. She is. Mm-hmm. Her work ethic, like you said, is impeccable, and her drive. Like, the older she gets, like, the more passionate she becomes, and the smarter she becomes. That's why I like Beyonce.
Like, when I'm in a funk, if I ever need like motivation, inspiration, I go back and I watch old Beyonce documentaries. Like, I watch Homecoming on Netflix. Yeah, that's the Coachella one.
Yep.
Or I watch like The Year of Four, any of her old documentaries where you can like see behind the scenes of how she actually works. Mm-hmm. I watch those and I instantly feel inspired. Like, she's just always been that for me.
So you can say that you're like me. I'm very interested in people's processes. Mm-hmm. I don't like. Mm-hmm. Yes, we always see the finishing product.
Right.
I'm interested in the process.
Mm-hmm.
In your life, not describe your process, don't get into your personal business, but how important is it to enjoy your process where you are, like, just in general?
I think it's very important to enjoy the process of whatever you're doing, because a lot of the time, like, we get caught up on the final destination.
Yeah.
And that can get discouraging if you have this one spot in mind, because you're never going to be satisfied with your life until you get to that point. And I never really want to be like that. And of course, it's like, it's human and natural for anybody to feel like that. So I find myself in those spaces very often, but you got to talk yourself out of that and just remind yourself, like, this is like, it's a marathon. Life is literally a marathon. So you have to enjoy every little step that you take to get to that final point that you really want to get to. And I was just talking to somebody about this earlier. One of my clients, I was telling her about like my YouTube journey so far. I started my YouTube channel in October of last year. And I was just telling her how sometimes it just gets a little discouraging because I'm not where I feel like I should be with it. But it's all a learning process. Like, I'm learning my style of like recording and editing. I'm figuring out what I want to do with my channel, like my niche. So yeah, you find out a lot about yourself and learn a lot about yourself during your journey. You learn more about yourself during the journey than you do when you get to the place that you want to be.
It's easy for people to be in the stands and talk and run their mouth, but when you're in the game, it's a whole different thing. What motivated you to step out? Because you've been working on this leading up to the YouTube channel. Like, this ain't happened overnight. What kept you motivated to be like, and on your timing as well, like you just didn't rush, like what motivated you to step out and be like, I'm supposed to be doing this?
Like, as far as what? Like, just everything that I do? Or, well, I've always known, like, what my purpose was. I think as long as I've been an adult, I've known. I think I figured it out, like, sometime in high school. I knew that I wanted to, like, make women.
You were an adult in high school?
No. No, I'm saying, since I've been an adult, I've known, like, for sure what I want to do and, like, how I need to get there. But I think I first kind of got an idea of what my purpose was when I was in high school, when I was in my first, I guess, real relationship, I would say. And I went through a breakup at that time, and I experienced so much in that relationship. Like, I feel like anything you can think of somebody experiencing in a relationship, I experienced in that one. So I learned a lot of my relationship lessons very early. And like, I experienced like having like really low self-esteem and just not being confident and not really loving myself. And that experience in particular made me realize, like, I think God allows me to go through certain things so that I can help other women when they are in that position. Like, I think my purpose is to make women feel better about themselves and to help them be their best selves in every aspect of their lives. So I basically just try to find different avenues that help me fulfill that purpose. So it's never really hard for me to know, like, what I'm supposed to be doing at a certain time in my life.
We're part of the microwave generation trend. We can get everything like this. Food. We can post like this. Boom, boom, boom. With the mindset or knowing that is possible, what is affecting our process with relationships? With our generation, what is affecting our process? Why is it now it's like we're against each other, just men and women just like butting heads? What is affecting our process? Somebody
said this at the relationship one that you did. Somebody was talking about how, like, with social media now, we feel like we have access to so much stuff and so many different people, and we really don't have the access. We're just kind of getting little glimpses of people's lives and what they're doing and what they look like, how they act. We don't really know these people in real life. So I think when you're in a relationship and you're seeing all this other stuff, it's easy for you to feel like, you know, the grass is green on the other side. And now you're quick to leave this person, or you're quick to just feel like what you have isn't enough. And then you get out there and it's not what you thought it was. So I think social media probably has the most impact on relationships as far as like what's going on in the world. And I hate it, but you know, that's what we're in right now.
Today is March 11th, 2023. I want to say about 3 years ago exactly. March 11th, 2020 was around the time the shutdown happened. When the shutdown happened, what was happening in Trent's life? What was Trent doing?
Oh, God.
What was going on right before or right when the pandemic hit? What was happening?
So that was a very crucial time in my life so far. I think 2020 was one of the most impactful years of my adult life. And I was going through a breakup at that time, but I was handling it different than any other breakup that I had before that. That was a time where I realized, like, I really don't know how to be by myself. And I was determined to figure out how to be comfortable being by myself. I learned so much about myself during that time. Like, I took a few months off of dating where I wasn't like talking to anybody. I wasn't really doing anything. And then I was forced to sit with myself because we couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
And Absolutely. That's why, as I always say, like, God is just so intentional. Like, he lets certain things happen at certain times in your life where, like, you really have no choice but to sit down and deal with yourself. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was at that time. And I needed a break from work. I thought I did. So that came at the perfect time. Yeah. It just seemed like it was perfect timing for me, honestly, like with the pandemic. And yeah.
What's the biggest lesson? And we're not even like that far away from 2020. Mm-hmm. But right now, what would you say the biggest lesson the pandemic taught you?
Wow. I would say the biggest lesson that the pandemic taught me was probably to always like stay on your toes. Mm-hmm. Because like I think when you're working 9 to 5s, like, you know, you could get laid off at any moment, but nobody really expects it to happen like they expect it now, honestly. Like you really never know when stuff like that is going to happen. And then with me being an entrepreneur, of course, nobody can lay me off. But yes, a pandemic can happen and I have to have another stream of income that does not require me to get up and go to work. Right. So that was one of the things that actually pushed me into doing YouTube, that and then me having my son. But it just reminded me, like, we need passive income. Like, you need more than one stream of income. Your one job is not going to be enough because anything can happen at any moment that will sit you down and you're going to be left with nothing if you don't have other avenues that you can go to.
When did you start your entrepreneur journey?
I've honestly been an entrepreneur for as long as I can remember.
Really?
Yeah. I've been, so I'm 26. I'll be 27 next month.
Okay.
I have been...
Go ahead, 27.
Yeah, I know. That's too close to 30. But I've been an entrepreneur full-time entrepreneur for 5 years.
Okay.
So November of 2017 is when I became full-time entrepreneur. But before that, since I've been working, I probably worked like 3 real jobs. And that was like Arby's, Sonic, Walmart. And I was not at any of those jobs for longer than like 3 months.
I can't see you at no Arby's.
Yeah, that was my first job. Yeah. And then at Sonic, I was like on the ice cream machine. It was just, yeah, that was nuts. But I wasn't at any of those jobs for longer than 3 months. So I knew for a fact that I could not work for anybody. Yeah. But I always did like hair on the side when I was in high school, when I was in college. I started doing makeup when I was at Morgan. I started doing lashes when I was at Morgan. And then once I graduated from Morgan, like right before I graduated, I think that's when I started like full-time entrepreneurship, like not. I worked for a hairstylist while I was doing other stuff while I was in high school and college, just as her assistant. And then I finally cut that off and just decided to just do my own thing. So pretty much as long as I've been an adult.
We're both graduates of Morgan State University. If you went to another school, it doesn't matter because this is our platform. Yeah, there's only one HBCU.
Period. Not one HBCU.
The biggest lesson I learned from Morgan is that you can't put a time limit on your process. You don't know. You don't know what you need. Just stay in it and find a way to enjoy your process. That's what Morgan taught me. Okay. What lesson did Morgan teach you?
I'm not gonna lie. I really can't even think of anything. Like, and I think it's because I just was not involved.
Yeah.
At Morgan. Yeah. Okay, so I'll say that then. I feel like when you're an entrepreneur so young and you're so focused on like working and getting money and doing all that stuff, you miss out on so many other things in life. And I think once I graduated from Morgan, that's when I appreciated Morgan more, and I wished that I really like just sat down and like soaked it all in. Cause I literally get sad, like homecoming time, I get sad because all I really have is like, y'all, the music department. And I was not even a music student, but I don't have any type of like real memories.
In the choir, my God.
Sometimes I feel like I was in the choir because I was always just around. But yeah, like I don't have no real college memories, honestly. I had a lot of relationships with the people who like I had classes with. But as far as like the things that I'm doing now, I didn't really get a lot of that from school. So sometimes I feel like I really didn't have to go. But, you know.
The more we grow, I think we need, especially when it comes to achieving our goals, becoming more successful, we need to learn the art of balance.
Oh my gosh.
How important right now is balance in Trin Johnson's life?
Balance is like the number one stressor in my life, like imbalance, I guess. Because being an entrepreneur and being a mother and I'm not gonna say like dating because like right now I'm single, so that's not really a factor. But just trying to excel in every area of my life is just so hard. And once I had Jax, my son, I feel like life just got so much harder because then like you start doing things for different reasons and everything becomes almost equally as important as the next thing. So now I really feel like I have to balance, and it's really hard. I honestly don't really feel like it's possible for everything to be on the same level. So you just kind of got to flow with it and do what really works for you. But yeah, balance is like a big issue for me.
How is it being a mom?
It's great. It is great. I feel like I have birthed one of the sweetest humans on earth. Like, he's so
sweetest
sweet.
human on earth.
Yeah, I love him. He's so sweet, and it's a different type of love. Like, I love his father. Well, I love his father, but
we love you, Dad.
Yeah. Cut that out. Like, no. They're gonna be like, she love him. That's my son's father. Whatever. Love him. But anyway, like I loved, I'm gonna say loved because like we were in a relationship, so I loved him. But once I had Jax, it's totally different. And I had so many people tell me that it was gonna be like that. But like now I understand how my parents love me. And you know how like when you're younger, your parents tell you like you're gonna understand when you get older, and when you become a parent, you're gonna understand. And now I literally get it. Like it feels so different.
What's the biggest thing or the thing that you had to learn real quick being a mom? Like, what's the biggest thing that, I cannot do this no more?
I think actually it wasn't really about like I cannot do this anymore, but I think one of the most important things I learned from becoming a mother, ironically, was putting myself first, which sounds really weird. Sorry, this piece of hair. Which sounds really weird because you would think like, you're a mother now, you got to put your child first. And to a certain extent, like, yes, that is true. But I really had to start taking care of myself because once I had him, I was so stressed and so focused on like working and trying to make sure he was good. I was neglecting myself. Like I lost so much weight after I had Jax. I don't even know if people really noticed on like Instagram and stuff, but I had lost so much weight because I wasn't eating. Simple tasks became so hard for me. Like eating became hard, going to the gym became hard, posting on Instagram became hard, which is something that I have to do for my business. So my business started lacking. But like I've been in therapy since 2020, and my therapist had to tell me like you have to put yourself first, because if you're not good, your child won't be good. Like he's literally reaping the benefits of you taking care of yourself.
Right.
So if you don't do that, then he's not going to be good.
You brought up therapy. Why do you think still to this day our community frowns upon mental health awareness, going to therapy, actually seeking help? Why is it looked as like no?
I would say two reasons. One being that a lot of people, they know that something could possibly be wrong, but they don't really want somebody to tell them. And it's the same with like going to the hospital. Like sometimes we feel things in our body, we know something is not right, but we don't want to go to the doctor or go to the hospital because we don't want them to tell us something that we don't want to hear. So I think that's the first thing. And two, I think a lot of people are in denial. Like we feel like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me, I don't need to go to therapy. But honestly, I think that's a big like misconception when it comes to therapy, because there were times where I wanted to cancel my session because I felt like, oh, nothing wrong happened this week. Like I wasn't in a bad mood this week, so I don't need it. But that's something that you have to do for preventative measures too. Yeah. Therapy is not something that you only do when you're like in a bind or in a situation or you feel like your mental health is just like suffering. That's something that we really need to constantly do. It's like going to your checkups every however often you do it.
That's real. What advice do you have to someone who is in your position right now in life? creative, balancing creative, entrepreneur, mom, like what advice do you have to people who are doing the same thing as you, look up to you? Trent has a lot of people who look up to her.
I do.
I found that out.
Oh my God.
I'll tell you off camera, but you do have a lot of people who look up to you. What advice do you have to creatives?
I think my number one piece of advice would be to give yourself grace. And that is my number one piece of advice, because that is the best advice that I have been getting since I've really been like putting all this pressure on myself. And I always go back to like, you know, ever since I had my son or whatever, because that has really been like a turning point in my life. But yeah, I've had a lot of friends and people who aren't even my friends just tell me like, you have to give yourself grace when you're doing a whole bunch of things. And yeah, like I think it's easy for us to like beat up on ourselves because, like I said before, like we have this idea of where we want to be. We have this one goal in mind, and we're not satisfied until we get there. Right. But it's a process, and you're learning every time you fail at something, or every time something doesn't go your way. You have another chance to redo it, like reset, figure something else out, and try to make it happen again. Mm-hmm. That's the only way that you can learn. So you literally have to just give yourself grace at all times.
There's a lot of influential artists out in music right now. Mm-hmm. Because it's Women's History Month, let's stay on women who are really doing it. Who are some of your favorite influential artists? It could be music, it could be the business side. Like, who do you think is really doing the thing and influencing at a high level? I'm
gonna say Rihanna. I already said Beyonce. Yeah. I'm gonna say Rihanna.
Riri.
A lot of people compare Beyonce and Rihanna, and I hate that because they are two completely different people. They're in two different lanes, and I love Rihanna because she is like the one celebrity who can pretty much do anything and excel at it. There aren't too many celebrities who can go into fashion and be good at it. Yeah. There aren't too many celebrities who can go into skincare and have a good skincare line.
I didn't know that Fenty is her last name.
Yes. I did not. Her name is Robin Fenty.
Robin Fenty. Yeah. I didn't know. That is, yo.
Yeah. The girl is good at everything. Like, and I have tried all her stuff. Of course, I listen to her music. I have her skincare products, her makeup products, the little Savage X Fenty. Some of that. I literally support everything that she does because everything that she does is good. And people like to argue. Like, I just saw a post about Beyonce on TikTok about how Ivy Park doesn't really perform the way you would think it would perform because she's Beyonce. But every celebrity cannot go into different avenues and literally excel at every single thing, and she does it.
Do you think Ivy Park is lacking because of the whole Adidas is going through a tough time anyway with the Kanye thing, and do you think it's like everybody's falling because of or is it just because Ivy Park stuff is dope?
I think it's cool. I don't know if it has anything to do with Adidas, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't really been like caught up on what's going on with Adidas.
I don't know either.
I'm like out the loop of a lot of stuff, but I saw the post that I was talking about on TikTok. They were saying that it probably has a lot to do with the fact that she doesn't really wear it. So, like, we see her when she does the campaigns, we see her in it. But then after that, once the campaign is over,
whenever we see Beyonce, she's in performance, like it's performance clothes.
Yeah, right. It's like we don't see her in it, and I think seeing her in it because she's Beyonce, like that would make us want to get it. So, I don't know. I think that could be it. I don't really know what else. This stuff isn't really my style anyway, so I probably wouldn't really wear it. But I do think that it probably has a lot to do with her not.
What is your style?
I'm very minimalistic. I don't like a lot of color, a lot of patterns. I will wear color, but I've learned this actually in the last few years. Like, my style is I like simple with nice detail. Okay. So when I buy clothes, if I cannot wear it a bunch of times, a bunch of different ways without nobody really noticing, I'm not buying it. Because I have to be able to mix and match everything that I have in my closet without it looking like, she wear the same thing all the time. So I got on the basic black bodysuit, basic bomber, get a couple pair of nice jeans, some staple shoes, and just figure out how to mix it around. Because don't nobody want to be wasting money on a whole bunch of stuff that you can only wear one time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's my style. Very simple, clean,
When you are dating, do you look for that in the dude, like based, like what do you look for? Let me take notes.
Oh my gosh, not take notes. I don't like.
Help me help somebody out.
He taking notes. Y'all are killing me. I don't really look for anything in particular, like when it comes to style. With
so he can wear FUBU and get you.
No, that you can't do. No. I mean, I don't like flashy men. Like, I like for you to look clean, put together. But all the like designer head to toe is just not. It
looks tacky.
It's not my vibe.
Especially when you can't dress, but you can afford it. Well, if
it's fake, you just gotta. I think you gotta know how to dress. Like what they say, put that on. Yeah, you gotta be able to do that. If you can do that. And you just look good. Like, I think it's more so, it's not always what you put on. It's how you really carry yourself when you have the stuff on. So, if you a clown, it don't matter what you got on. If you're a clown. That's why I say, like, style isn't really the first thing that really gets me. Like, you gotta look nice. But, if you a clown, it don't matter what you got on.
So, what's number one for you? If it's not style.
Lord, no, I wasn't expecting that question. I gotta think real fast on my toes. What's number one for me? Are we talking about like appearance?
The whole thing.
Number one for me is probably, I'm gonna say personality, because I have realized this through therapy and like dating for the past. Technically I haven't been single for 2 years, but almost basically. Anyway, we just gonna say 2 years. So during this time, I've learned through like dating people and going to therapy that connection is very important for me.
Absolutely.
You can have everything else, but if we don't have that connection,
if it don't click,
it's not going to work. Like I will give up everything else if I feel like me and you just don't click. I'm a connection person. We gotta be like this. Like I want whoever I'm dating to be my best friend.
Yeah.
And yeah,
that's real.
That's it for me.
Absolutely. You know what, y'all? I've been enjoying this, for real. But Trin is busy. I appreciate you, my sister, for coming on out. What's your busy schedule?
That's it.
Go. How much longer you want to go?
Oh my gosh.
You sure?
Keep going.
You want to keep going?
If you want to.
If you want to.
Keep on.
You're a busy one.
It's 5:36. The night is young.
The night is young. That is crazy.
Let's keep it going.
Yo, without spoiling anything, what's coming up? Give us a little forecast of what are you working on?
Honestly, the only thing I'm like actively working on is building my social media presence, but not like Instagram. Like I'm kind of getting away from Instagram.
It's about that time. Instagram's turning into Facebook.
I'm starting to hate it. Like it's too much. Like the aesthetics is just becoming too much for me. I think it's way more pressure on Instagram than it is on like TikTok and YouTube. So I've been building my YouTube channel. Like I said, I started that in October. So that has been like, that's my baby right now. That's what I'm really focusing on. And then I feel like TikTok is like the smaller version of YouTube. Like you can pretty much post the same thing, just shorter version. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to increase my presence on there. But that's pretty much it. Like I really want to get into being more of a content creator and influencing, actually taking my purpose and putting it on these platforms. Because I feel like with Instagram, I did a whole lot of just like posting pictures and that's it. But you don't really get to know me.
Right.
And I be having a whole lot to say. So I got a lot to say. And I recently just started talking on TikTok because I would just like post little videos of myself here and there. Okay. But I posted this one video of me just like doing my makeup and talking about 5 things that I've learned about men and relationships since I've been dating. And that video pretty much went viral. You gonna run through
these 5 things?
Oh Lord, I don't know if I remember them.
You got notes?
I can play the video.
I can play the video
because I remember what I said. I've learned a whole lot of things.
All right, so what? Not 5, but what are some things that you've learned?
Okay. All right. So some of the things are coming back to me. So one thing is that if a man wants to, he will. So you never have to do a whole lot. You never have to put a whole lot of pressure on a man who really wants to be with you. I was just recording a TikTok in the car before I came in here, and I was talking about how I feel like a lot of the time as women, we don't even be liking some of the men that we're dating. Like, if you really think about it, women be complaining a lot. We complain a lot about the men that we're with.
Talk about it, sister.
Stop it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
This is not to praise y'all enough.
We gotta talk about that.
But we complain a lot, and it really boils down to the fact that we have this idea in our heads of who we want y'all to be, and we don't always have that in front of us. So we have to learn how to take it or leave it. Like, do I really want to be with this person, or do I want to be with the version of them that I have in my head?
All jokes aside, it's the same way.
Yeah,
I think it is.
Yeah, it definitely goes both ways, because I think men are guilty of that too sometimes.
I know I am. But I'm sorry, y'all.
I know as women, and I was saying this in the video, like, I feel like as women, a lot of the time we know that a man is not for us, but we don't want to leave because we would rather sit here and try to change y'all so that y'all can be who we want y'all to be before y'all go to somebody else and finally decide to be that man. We don't want to see y'all be the man we want you to be with somebody else. I
don't know if it's our pride, but we like, and I've been guilty of this. I've been, like you said, during the pandemic, you had to sit down and learn you. Mm-hmm. I had to do the same thing. But I have been guilty of going out of my way, not working on me, learning me, but trying to make somebody else mold them into what fits for me at that time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that wastes so much time.
It wastes so much time. Like, and half the time, like you said, we don't be knowing ourselves because we don't sit with ourselves long enough to know what we really want. Yeah. And I think that's why now dating is a lot smoother for me, because I already have an idea in my head of what I want. So I go straight into something, and I will know first date. I'll know like in the first 20 minutes, like, this just gonna be like we just gonna date. We can go out every now and then, but this is not going that far. Mm-hmm. And when you're young-minded and when you don't really know yourself, you put up with a whole lot more, and you try to change people and try to change yourself because you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want.
Do you think it's because our generation has been exposed to stuff too fast, or exposed to life too fast?
I think we're exposed to too much stuff in general.
Wow.
We don't know who we are because we're constantly looking at stuff. Like, sometimes I have to tell myself, like, okay, I know you're watching these YouTube videos so you can get inspired. I know you're watching these TikToks so you can get inspired. You're looking at all this stuff to get inspired. But at the end of the day,
it has to be
the more you look at stuff, the more you're feeding your mind and transforming what you already know you want to do. So then what you put out ends up being a collective of everybody else's ideas.
Wow.
So because we look at so much stuff all day long, we're on Instagram, we're listening to this music, we don't really know who we are because we can't sit in silence and not be on social media, not be on our phones. Like, it's too much. It's like sensory overload at a certain point.
And everybody doesn't want to go through the process, like original ideas.
Yep.
They don't just fall out the sky. It's not something you can put in the microwave, something you can charge up. Like, originality. And that's the substance thing that I'm starting to realize that now. Like, if it doesn't have substance, it's not going to last.
Yep.
Whatever it is.
That's everything.
That's every single thing.
Jobs, careers. Yeah.
Food. Like, if you go to Chick-fil-A versus you make something, I'm really learning that. Real talk.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I'm learning it now instead of being 40. Not saying there's nothing wrong with being mid-age and learning, but the fact that I know that I'm learning this now has been helping me out.
And a lot of people think, like, the age that we are, a lot of people will say that that's too old to be learning lessons, but this is the time, right?
If anything, Steve Harvey has broken down. Thank you, Steve.
Steve Harvey has changed.
Steve Harvey is like it, and he's 60 ish. He's
and he got a story. Like,
legit,
that man got a testimony, if you will.
Like that, stories like that. I heard Rick Ross say, like, I'd rather go through the process and do everything right, no matter how long it takes, instead of rush stuff and we skip, we miss this, we miss that, we miss that.
Me and Germ were actually having this conversation. Germ is my
dog. That's what he is. He's my dog.
Me and Germ were having this conversation recently about, like, how people try to skip things and I always tell him, like, if you don't go through the process, you're going to get to where you want to be and you're going to mess it all up because you haven't learned the lessons that you were supposed to learn along the way. So I would much rather learn all the lessons and be like, just like fail at a bunch of different stuff on the way to where I want to be than to get there and not be able to hold on to it because I didn't learn what I was supposed to learn. Yeah. I don't want to go backwards.
No.
I don't mind taking 2 steps now and going back 3 and then having to do it all again. But when you go 50 steps and got to come back 50, that's just...
It's the aspect for me of get ready so you won't have to get ready.
Stay ready.
So whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. Stay ready so you don't gotta get ready.
I'm so sorry. But no, for real, I heard Quincy Jones say he doesn't say fear, but he said they asked him what is your biggest fear. He said my biggest fear is to get a call for something I'm fully capable of doing, and I'm not ready.
Yeah,
and that's Quincy Jones. Like this man done did everything. Like so for him to say out of his mouth, this is my biggest fear. Like if I get a call and I'm not ready. That's why sometimes like, yo, turn your phone off. Hello. Testing. Turn your phone off, man. Focus on you. Yeah. Because there's going to be a time where you're going to get that call. And if you're not ready, it goes to the next person. That's how fast it happens, too.
Literally.
It's almost nerve-wracking. Like, ooh. No,
and that's literally with everything. Like, and I know y'all can attest to that as musicians. Like, if you don't, like, I think sometimes I'm just go like with the musician thing. Like, if you're not practicing just because you don't have a gig, when you finally do get the gig, if it's last minute and you ain't been practicing, what you gonna do? You be sitting there looking dumb.
And you're a musician yourself.
Am I?
You play bongos, right?
You know what? Stop. You're not playing no daggone bongos.
Tambourine.
I don't play no tambourines either. I clap my hands in church. That's about it.
Hallelujah. Speaking of church.
Uh-oh.
I'm not going to get too deep on it.
Go ahead.
But nah, for real. Because I'm at a standpoint where it's like, yo, our generation and the generations after us, we can get so much knowledge on everything else. And I feel like the church is at a detriment because the church hides so much.
Yeah,
I feel like the church is insecure.
I agree. The church is very in denial too.
In denial, and it's on a standpoint of we're so focused on what we can lose versus who we can gain. Or who we can lose versus who we can gain.
With the organ.
With the organ. Now, I'm feeling like, yo, what is to young Christian believers like ourselves, like what advice do you have, or just people who are just trying to find their way? What advice do you have to them?
I think, well, first off, I'll start off by saying I am a pastor's kid.
PK's for life.
Yeah.
God bless you, Pastor Johnson.
Gift and a curse sometimes.
Yeah.
So I've been in church pretty much my whole life, and I've been around these same people my whole life. They watched me grow up. They probably had their idea in their head of who I was supposed to be, and I feel like I kind of like have gone against that in a lot of different ways.
But that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing at all, because at the end of the day, I focus on, and I think a lot of like PKs kind of miss this because we're so busy trying to like please our parents and please the people in the church. But I know a lot of PKs who do everything right, but they have no relationship with God, like none. You don't have a relationship for yourself.
Zero.
Once your parents stop forcing you to go to church, are you still going? When you're outside of church, what are you doing? Like, do you know how to pray? Do you know how to do X, Y, Z? There are a lot of people who grow up in church who have no relationship, and that's just so crazy to me. But you literally have to know God for yourself.
You have to.
You have to have your own relationship, and then I think when you have your relationship, then that will determine where you go. You go where you're fed at that point. Like you go to get what you need, because a lot of these churches, they be missing it because they so like stuck in their ways. And they don't want to, they feel like they're conforming and transforming, you know, going with the ways of the world. If they try to, I guess, appease us and appeal to us. But that's not really what it is. Like you said, they're not thinking about what they're gaining by actually trying to relate to us.
Right. I think that's one of the things that the pandemic taught me. Like, yo, you have to know God for yourself.
Got to.
Yeah. Like, because I'm not going to lie to you. all right, missing the first 2 Sundays, I was like, all right, I'm chilling. I can lay down. Then it turned into a month. I was like, all right.
Right.
Then I missed Palm Sunday and Easter. Like, you know, like oh. Yeah. So it turned into a thing of, all right. It's like almost like in school. Like the test started. Like we've been in church all of our lives. We've been told this is like everything. Yep. We go down this everything we've been taught. Now a test comes.
Yep.
Are you ready for the test or are you not?
Because you're not there where you're used to being. Yeah.
And so many people like, you remember like, oh, some of y'all was trying to have church and never mind.
Go ahead.
Some of y'all, I'm like, yo, we need to have church. I'm like, bro, this is a test.
Yeah.
Clearly, and some of y'all are failing because it's like, yo.
A lot of people fail. A lot of
people fail, losing their mind. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's when faith activates. And I think 2020 was a true example where it was a time, all right, let's kick the faith in. Yeah. Everything we've been taught from childhood up, apply it.
And I think church is important. Like, we know that church is important, but yeah, the pandemic taught me in particular, like,
church is important, but it goes beyond the building. Yeah,
it goes beyond the building. Like you say, like you have to have, like, if you can't physically be in church, what can you do? Because I was not the virtual church girl. Like I could not do it. Virtual church was not it for me because I was distracted and getting on TikTok after like 10 seconds. I couldn't.
It took me a minute, and then like people start getting them bright ideas. Is like I'm showing the Zoom on the screen, and you got people sleeping. Like, all right,
no, for real. It was crazy. You see all types of stuff.
But the fact that for me, it was a real moment because it wasn't just the people, like it was everybody. Every single person. And that's why I look at the pandemic as a God thing. Like, yo, this just wasn't to like the people like you or like people on the East Coast. Like it was everybody. Worldwide thing.
Yep.
And it taught me now, it's like, bro, when it comes for me, like working towards my goal, like, yo, you had 2 years off. It's either what you gonna do. Like you had 2 years to go home and get yourself together.
Yep.
Like if you don't want your dreams and if you don't want to win by now, it's not gonna happen for you. We had 2 years. Gentlemen? That's real. Ladies and gentlemen, it's stupid. For real. Like, I think that's it. Like, yo, the people who are going to be successful are the people who took the time out to really learn themselves during the pandemic.
But you know, a lot of people were saying that during that time, like on social media, they were like, if you're not doing anything right now, you're never going to do anything. You need to take this time and be productive. And then there are people who are like countering that and saying, well, at what point do we just sit and try to rest for a little bit? So then, like, how did you, I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay. Actually,
how did you determine like when it was time for you to really like put your foot on the gas and work, and when you would actually take time for yourself?
I ain't gonna lie to you. When the pandemic first hit, I was outside. When they shut it down? When they shut it, because think about, all right, so Morgan.
Oh my God.
We got closed down first.
Not you two. What I say before the camera started?
Our cameraman was outside too. I was with him.
He always outside. The cameraman always outside.
Yo, but Morgan shut down first. Public schools were still going. So you got all my siblings. My mom's a teacher. So the first 2 days I was at home like, oh, I can sleep. I was getting rest. Then I found out everybody's coming home. I said, ooh, this can't work.
Were you resting?
I was resting, but then it was getting non-productive. Okay. Like my days were like getting non-productive.
So it was going on too long.
It was going, and I was getting bored. I was doing crazy things.
I think we all spent too much.
How much money? Exactly, money that I was just like throwing out. Bad idea. And I knew, and I can recall a night, and the gentlemen that were with me about this night, they know, but I knew that it was time for me to turn my life around. I knew it was time for me to turn my life around during the pandemic when I got a bill in front of me the bill was $937.
For what?
I don't even want to talk about it. The bill was $937, and I looked at that thing and said, "All right, bro, You need to find something to do.
Get yourself together.
So that happened, and then I started working. I was working at Amazon overnight, 11:30 to 8:30 to 9, Sunday night to Thursday morning, and I was still doing school. So I just turned to grind mode, and that's when it started happening. Like it was a process, but I'm glad that I was like, all right, yo, you doing this too much. Something said, all right, game over, and that was that night when I spent $937 at a restaurant.
A restaurant?
Yeah.
What, you paid the bill for everybody? Or was just... I don't even want to know.
It's over now. It's over. I got through and the card cleared. But let me tell you, that next morning I woke up in tears.
That is
like, how dare you?
$900 at one restaurant in one sitting is crazy. That's crazy.
I wouldn't trade it for the world.
I just keep looking over there.
I learned a lot that night, though. But
I'm sure you did.
Oh, man.
Whew. Yo, Trent!
What?
It's so good.
I told you I can go.
Listen, to end this before I mess up. You want to shout anybody out? No, all your stuff. Where can they find you, please?
You can find me
Talk right over here.
everywhere at Trending Topic. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.